Introducing Giftbox, winner of the Grade 1 Santa Anita Handicap. He's a 3-time graded stakes-winning millionaire with 4 triple-digit buyers and a 4 Ragazin to his name. He proved himself early as a graded stakes place 2-year-old, and now his career as a stallion is just getting started. From the first crop of the leading sire Twirling Candy out of a multiple graded stakes producing mare. Giftbox, new for 2021, only at Lane's End.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 11 on a star-studded Saturday afternoon at Gulfstream Park is the Grade 1 $1 million Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. Let's throw up the field. Our coverage is presented by Lane's End Farm, 15-time leading stud farm in North America. Their stallion, Liam's Map, is represented by the morning line favorite in this race, the number 5, Colonel Liam, who's trained by Todd Pletcher, and Pletcher is loaded.
He really is. It's going to be interesting to see what Colonel Liam does, Dan, because he showed as a 3-year-old last year that he could turn out to be a really good turf horse. And you know what? They're taking a shot here to face some pretty good older horses, but he's coming off of a pretty big win, this horse.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race, going 1 mile and 3/16. And yes, that is the same Storm the Court that pulled off a 45-1 upset in the 2019 Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He hasn't won since, but a little bit of a career renaissance since being switched back to the turf, Mike. And I do see him showing some speed in here. He's an interesting horse, but he has to deal with another horse based in Southern California, the red hot Another Twist of Fate.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with the pace projector here. I think both the 3 and the 8 will go forward in here. And I guess we'll just see what Joel Rosario decides to do with Another Twist of Fate, because he could put him on the front if he wants to, but I don't think he has to.
Next shares the number 1. He won the Grade 1 Shadwell Turf Mile back in 2018. He was a big price in this race last year. He didn't run very well. He's one of the few horses in this race on this card of graded stakes races not running with Lasix off. He ran with Lasix off last time. He was a little bit closer to the pace than expected, Mike, and he finished up evenly. I think he can get a good setup in here. I just wonder if he's good enough on his best.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty hard hitter. He's getting up there in age now. He's 8 years old. He can still run, Dan. It feels like maybe his best days are a little bit behind him. It's, hard to go back and watch that last race to San Gabriel and give him, too big of an excuse to not make a race of it with Another Twist of Fate. He got a really good trip in there, and he wasn't close to good enough.
Should McGahee's horses generally get better with maturity, extra distance? I'm a little interested about the distance for the 2, breaking the rules as we stretch him out. He tried 1 mile and 1/8 last time out. I thought he ran his usual solid race in the Fort Lauderdale. This race is likely going to come down to trip, and breaking the rules has the tactical speed to get a trip.
He does. We'll see what happens here. I don't really know what to say about him, Dan. When they switched him over to turf at the end of 2018, he really looked like he could be a graded stakes kind of horse for a while. It didn't happen for him. He came back off of a long layoff last summer. He won his first 2 starts. Like maybe he was going to get good again. And to me, he was bad last time. He was bad in the Knickerbocker, and he was bad in the Lure. And I don't want him in this race.
Here's Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner Storm the Court. He almost got it done at a price last time out. In the Grade 2 Mathis Brothers Mile, he caught a very good 3-year-old turf horse in Southern California playing that horse's game. We'll watch Smooth Like Straight and Storm the Court battle it out in the Mathis Brothers Mile. Smooth Like Straight on the outside, Storm the Court on the rail. I thought Storm the Court was very game in this race, Mike, but he's going to have to take on some tough older horses for the first time.
Yeah, he was game in this race. He did his very best. He's just second best to a good horse and Smooth Like Straight. He's going to have to do better than that, Dan. He's going to have to do it over a longer distance, and I don't really feel like he's any cinch to get better going longer. We'll see. Maybe the trip will help him out in here if he gets a good one up on the pace near, but I'm not sold on this horse.
McGahee has breaking the rules, who might be tested a bit at this additional distance. North Dakota is going to turn back and trip off of this victory in the Grade 3 Red Smith. Now, he got a nice pace to run at. North Dakota had always hinted at ability. I thought he had a lot of trouble in the Sycamore 2 starts back. He comes with a good, strong run in here to beat a pretty solid field. And you give him pace, North Dakota is going to come with a kick. The question is this distance at this point in his career a little bit short for him?
Yeah, it's a good question. This is, to me, the McGahee horse who you feel like you probably want to stick with. He feels like he's the one who's really getting better with racing. And you could sort of see that coming for a long time. I agree with you that I feel like you have to worry a little bit about cutting back in distance with this horse, because it feels like his last two races are the ones where he really stepped up his game going longer. He's going to need some pace. He's going to need the kind of trip he got last time. I thought Jose Lezcano gave him a great trip last time. And we'll just see if he can come running over this shorter trip.
A horse with plenty of upside potential is your morning line favorite, the 5 Colonel Liam by Lames and Stallion. Liam's Map. I thought this horse ran well in the Saratoga Derby over the summer, Mike. He kind of got pinballed at the start of that race, made a big wide bid on the turn. He only got beat 3/4 of a length by some nice horses. Now, Todd laid him off after that, brought him back in the Tropical Park Derby. He was bet like he couldn't lose, and he ran very well against a good field. Let's watch that race right now. Colonel Liam's on the outside, and the horse on the lead, Don Juan Kitten's a useful horse who got control of this thing. Fancy Liquor's a nice horse, and Colonel Liam just shrugs them away.
Yeah, and he buried these horses. This was a really good performance. And this is the kind of horse, this is what he's bred for, Dan. So when they finally switched him over, it wasn't that surprising to see him take a big step forward first time on turf. You're right. He was very unlucky in the Saratoga Derby. He came back and listen, I don't feel like he beat a great field last time. But I think he did it the way that you wanted to see him do it. He was wide all the way. He cruised up on that field around the turn, and he won very easily at the end. This horse has forward to go.
No, I certainly think that served as an excellent prep. This horse, as you mentioned, bred to be a nice horse, $1.2 million public auction purchase. Todd Pletcher also has the 6, Largent. All Largent has done is win 4 out of his last 6 starts, 6 of 9 lifetime, including the Grade 2 Fort Lauderdale last time out at Gulfstream, going 1 1/8 miles. Let's watch that race right now. Largent's versatile. He can sit close to the pace. He can come from off of it. Of course, this pace was fast. We see Largent coming off of it. He's just to the outside of breaking the rules. He's going to get the better of breaking the rules. This horse is seeing dead red right now.
Yeah, it really is. This was a good field that he beat too, Dan. I mean, yes, the pace set up really well for him, and he got an absolute perfect trip from Paco Lopez. The old in-out, saved all the ground, never had a straw in his path. But he closed it down, and that was a good field. I mean, just based on the horses he was facing there and compare him to the horses he's facing here, it's not that big a step up in class. I'm not sold on him yet, but I'm not going to sit here and knock him either. He shows up and he runs every time.
Number 7, Aquaphobia, typical Michael Maker special. Claimed the source for 62.5. Won the Grade 1 United Nations a few starts after that. Don't think he cared for the soft turf when Channel Maker was in raging form in the Sword Dancer. A little disappointed, Mike, in the Sycamore and the Red Smith, and I wonder if it was just a lot of hard racing for this old-timer. I like that they're bringing him back into this race off a bit of a layoff, but he's another horse that actually might want a little more ground.
It'll be interesting to see. I agree with you that maybe, though, he was just needing a little bit of a layoff leading up after those last 2 races anyway. I still don't feel like Aquaphobia is a real, Grade 1. I know he won a Grade 1 going longer. I still don't really feel like he's that kind of horse, but Maker, does what he does with these horses. And I actually sort of feel like, just based on what he was doing before Maker took him, I wonder if shorter might not be better for this horse. I know he's a Grade 1 winner going long, but he was always, to me, a little bit better going shorter distances.
I love the tactical speed that the 8 Another Twist of Fate has. He's always been a very underrated horse. He won the El Camino Real Derby on synthetic. He won the Long Acres Mile on dirt. Here he wins the San Gabriel on turf. In only his second turf appearance, and maybe this wasn't the greatest field in the world, Mike, but he's on the outside right now. He's going to wear these horses down, and by far, this was the fastest race he's ever run. I've always liked this horse as the distances get longer, and he might be in front when they turn into the stretch.
Yeah, I agree. He's a super dangerous horse in this race. I think I really thought he looked good winning that race we just watched. And listen, he got a perfect trip in there, but he also ran a fast race in there and won very easily. And I just felt like 2 back when they first time put him on turf for the first time in the Seabiscuit. I wonder if Joel Rosario would maybe like to have that ride back there. He put him on the lead. He let a couple of horses sort of run past him up the back stretch, and then he had to chase those horses through this stretch. I don't really feel like this horse got a great trip 2 back, but boy, did he take a big step forward last time. In a lot of ways, I feel like he might be the horse to beat in here.
Michael Maker also very well represented. He has the 9 Cross Border, second in the Grade 1 Sword Dancer last year, over soft going behind Channel Maker. Just got beat last time out at the fairgrounds by a pretty solid horse. He was wide that day. I don't know, Mike. Cross Border to me has shown that he can compete against Grade 1 horses, but he's also the kind of horse that runs to the level of his competition more often than not.
He does have a little bit of that in him. Listen, he's a really good horse. And the thing that I like most about him is that you can just give him any kind of a trip in a race and it doesn't matter. You can put him on the lead. You can take him back. So I don't feel like he's going to be compromised by the way that this race is run, whether it's fast or slow early. I'm just, maybe it's a little bit of what you said. He just sort of runs to his competition. He's not the kind of horse that I would just want to be betting on. On the other hand, he might wind up being a really good price in this race, and you rarely get good prices on this horse.
A very consistent, newly turned 4-year-old is up next. That's the number 10 Pixelate. He's been on the board in 12 of 14 starts, scored on the Woodchopper at the Fairgrounds last time out. His Beyer speed figures, though, pale in comparison to some of the others in here, so he's going to really have to step it up. And I'm not sure he's the best overall closer in this race.
Yeah, that's what I thought about him too. He's a pretty nice horse, but I feel like he does have to take a big step forward in this race. And he's going to have to do it by passing a lot of horses, it feels like, because I think his best game is to sit back and make one run.
The 11 Say the Word really found himself over the summer when stretched out to 1 mile and 3/16 and eventually beyond. He was 51-1 when he won at Saratoga. I thought he ran really well that day. Let's watch his most recent performance. Two back, he won the Grade 1 Northern Dancer. This is the Hollywood Turf Cup. He was down inside near the back of the field. These are two good horses, Arklow and Lucario, that get the jump on him. Say the Word is motoring in the stretch. This is 1.5 miles. And again, I have the same questions about this horse as I do about North Dakota. Maybe he actually wants a little more ground, but he is running at the end.
Yeah, he was really running at the end of that race. I mean, you could see there on the replay there really wasn't anybody else making up ground except for him. And he was flying late in there. I thought he ran really well last time. I thought he ran really well when he won the Grade 1 2 starts back. I agree with you. Maybe the distance is going to wind up being too short for him. But to me, this horse was always cut out to be good. It didn't happen right away for him, but it feels like he's in the best form of his life right now.
Social Paranoia, the number 12, completes this field. Another one trained by Todd Pletcher, and another one that came off the layoff for Pletcher, ready to roll at Gulfstream Park. Let's watch this optional claiming race. A good prep, 7.5 furlongs off of a 6-7 month layoff. He's on the outside. He's in the clear. He runs these horses down. Now, I know I won the Dueling Grounds Derby at 1 mile and 5/16. I've always kind of liked this horse as more of a middle distance runner. I wonder if 1 mile and 3/16 from a tough outside post is a little bit far, but this is a nice horse.
It is. I agree with you. That was my concern too. I've always sort of liked him going a little bit shorter as well. But he's an older horse now. Maybe he'll be able to stretch out a little bit more effectively at this stage of the game. He was good in that race last time. He was supposed to win that race. Rode him like he knew he was the best horse in there. But he won that race a lot easier than it looks. Boy, I'm a fan of his, Dan. I don't like this post for him, and I feel like he's found a tough spot here, but I could use him at the right price.
It's a wide open race. We land on the same horse. As we take a look at our top picks in here, we both like the way Say the Word flew home last time out. It's all about whether he can get a trip. Can he, avoid losing too much ground, because he's likely going to be coming from the back of the pack. Will he get enough pace? It's the questions the closers always have to answer.
It is. We'll see if the trip works out for him. I just like his last two races, Dan, and I just felt like he was going to be a fair price in here. I wasn't against either the 5 or the 8, but they're the two favorites on the morning line. And I'm not sure that they're that much better than the horse we have on top, Say the Word. So I'm going to take him.
I'm curious to see how North Dakota does as well. As you mentioned, I think he's one of those shug horses, just getting good at the right time. So I'm kind of keen on horses that might want a little more ground, but I think they'll be running late. 11.476 for me, 11.854 for Mike. It's the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, and our coverage is presented by Lane's End.